Welcome to the Unfiltered with Kara podcast. I created this podcast for one reason and one reason only. I want to help you live your best life while you journey out here as a human for an average of 28,000 days. Tune in for conversations, inspiration, tips, and tricks for freeing yourself from the bullshit that weighs you down so you can create a full and happy life, a life that is worthy of you. Welcome, Sandra Rodriguez Bicknell to the Unfiltered with Kara podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So excited to have you, my friend. I've been wanting to do this with you because you and I just have gone through this amazing journey together. And not only do I want to share you with my listeners, I want to also just go down memory lane and live through this experience again, getting the From Clearance to Priceless book into the world. And, telling our people like how this came together, because it was very serendipitous. It was almost a year ago. We got together. We met at a dinner. You were invited by Tammy. I was invited. We did not know each other. And I remember walking and you came and you sat to my right. I had my friend Anik to my left. And I remember leaving the dinner after what had transpired between you and I and calling Tanya, my friend, who usually would have been the one sitting next to me, and saying, "Thank God you didn't come to the dinner." I was like, I'm so glad you did not come, because I just met the woman who's going to help me put the book out into the world. And I said, her name is Sandra. And she was like, oh, I know Sandra.
So perfect.
Yeah. And so that night you came and I shared with you what I had been trying to get into the world for, at the time it had been 6 years. I literally started writing my book when I left my house and was getting divorced. And it had so many different titles along the way. And finally, I was able to birth it with you within a year. It took me 6 years of trying and then a year of your container to make it happen. And now From Clearance to Priceless is in people's hands. I'm getting the reviews and it is doing exactly what it was intended to do. And first of all, I do want you to introduce yourself and share who you are, what you've been doing in the world, even prior to meeting me. And we can, delve in more into what that calling of yours, how that's just impacted me.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sandra Rodriguez Bicknell. I'm a book coach, best-selling author, and publisher. And that world also landed in my life very, not only serendipitous, but very suddenly. It was a calling, a desire that I've had in my heart for years and years and years, until the day that I said, that's it, I'm doing this. And as soon as I made that decision, I found the right coach, the right support, and I wrote my book. It's Cuts of a Diamond, and it's my spiritual journey through love and heartache. And very similar to you, it was an opportunity to take a look at what was happening in my life and shifting things. And when you write something so powerful, so personal, so intimate, and so vulnerably, things start to shift in your life. Yeah. Automatically. There's nothing else happens, but it is the universe, God, the energy and frequency starts to take its place. And that's what happened. And for me, it was, everybody needs to do this.
Yes.
Everyone needs to have an opportunity to reflect on their story and share it and actually write it with your hand, with your heart, very intentionally, very focused. And so that's where Soulful Books was birthed, and that's where my life changed from having a jewelry store, hence the title of my book, Cuts of a Diamond, to actually being a support for others, polishing their own stones and sharing their message and getting clarity and leveling up and becoming that diamond, that shine that you really were meant to be. But not one moment before it was time, which is when you actually make up that decision to just say, I'm doing it. Yeah. Which is very similar to when, you sat next to me and it was like just very clear. Like we met, we had a conversation, we're doing it, and that was it. It was days later that we launched and started.
And for me, I remember where I was. Part of the reason why I couldn't land the book and birth the book is because the message that I wanted to put in the book, my life wasn't quite fully in alignment with that. Although it was what I believed and what I wanted for even myself and for my readers, I wasn't quite in alignment. And I remember you and I agreed to work with each other. Just a few days later, we got on the phone. We agreed to work with each other. And then you gave me a date of, like, it was a Thursday, I remember. It was Thursday the 29th of May. And the relationship that I was in that literally had been in the way of me authentically writing the book ended that day, the day before, on May 28th. Like, you can't make this shit up. Like, when you talk about once you decide and then you commit that this is what I'm doing, everything that needs to shift to make that happen and to support that happening just naturally, serendipitously, whatever the word is, and really godly, I would say, just happens. And that's how it happened for me. And so, the book originally was a kind of, I guess it was me wanting to heal from whatever had me find myself in a relationship where I had been married for 13 years to someone who, by the end of our relationship, told me that it wasn't in his DNA to even do the bare minimum of taking me out on a date. So I had to really look at myself and be like, girl, what did you miss? How did you allow yourself to be in something like that for so long? And what other illusion did you create? Because obviously you were in something completely different than what you thought you were in, right? And I realized that it's such a dangerous place for a woman to be in when you don't do the work of healing the things that cause you to make certain choices that do put you on the clearance rack, right? How that leaves you open to mistreatment or lesser than what you really,
And it's because you're bartering, right?
Correct.
You're bartering, and that's just so close to the title of your book. But you're like, oh, well, I'll put up with this because I have that.
Right.
Because I'm married and I have a family. So I can give this up. And that's what we end up doing in our lives, right? We end up giving up the things that we really feel are valuable for us, are really important in our lives within a relationship because we think that we have enough. The other things are good. And we're covering up for their shortcomings and all the other things because then, if we admit that there's something really wrong, then, we're in mistake.
Right. And the mistake is you made the mistake.
Exactly.
And who likes to admit having gotten it wrong?
Exactly.
And for me, I'm a whole lawyer. Exactly. Like, I've always been like,
Stop being so ungrateful.
Right. And I remember, so the first title was Why I Had to Leave a Good Man. That was, which then I found out later on, I'm like, a good man doesn't do these kind of things. But anyways, but I remember, the whole, you can't leave a good guy. Right. Like, he doesn't beat you. He doesn't good drink.
Enough.
He's good enough. Like, he's good. Why would you leave a good man? Right. And that was a thing where I felt guilty for a long time that I wanted more for myself because technically on paper, I had it all. I was a lawyer, I had my firm, I had my husband who didn't cheat on me, who didn't, go out to drink and party or
vices.
Whatnot. Right, but also didn't have it in his DNA to take me out on a date. Then that it was valuable and important to me. These are certain things that for me to feel like I'm a woman in a relationship, I just need that. These were like minimum to me, but to the world, to the outside world. I even remember when I knew for a while that this wasn't it for me, but like in the most broken part of our marriage, like towards the end, the picture that I had as a profile picture was our little family in front of the castle in Magic Kingdom.
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
And we were beautiful. We are a beautiful family, but completely disintegrating from the inside. And one of the main reasons why I wanted not only to put the book, but to have this conversation is to like normalize that this happens more than we want to admit, where you really think that you hit the jackpot or you checked all the boxes and it should be working. You should love it, but it's misaligned and it happens. And admitting to having made a decision when you were still in your brokenness or when you still had certain insecurities, that's where the decision came from. And if you've evolved, it is only natural that you now no longer feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And the little voice inside just gets a little louder. So even when you took the picture and you're like, hey, and you're all happy, inside something was not right.
Right.
And it's there. And of course, we're always doubting ourselves as women, thinking that we're not doing it, or shh, be quiet, or, don't express yourself, keep it to yourself. And again, gratitude, be grateful for everything you have. But the voice, the closer you get to a decision, or the louder the voice, the closer you get to the decision. It's like chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
The voice gets louder. No, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. This is not what I want.
Right.
And then you just make the decision. But many people quiet the voice with distraction, with work, with finances. Oh, well, I have the money, or I have this, or everybody thinks it's great. And so we tend to give up that one thing that is most of the time love.
Right.
We're very willing to give self-love or love for us in exchange for the picture perfect, or for, what they say or what it looks like, or again, not trusting ourselves.
Yeah. And I call it the pang in your stomach, that intuition. And the more you ignore it, I really truly believe the louder it gets.
100%.
And so it becomes, you have to effort more to ignore it. But also when you do lean into it, it's like growing a muscle. You start trusting it and you realize that it is your guiding light. And so if you actually listen to it, it will guide you to that,
the next thing.
Right. And to your, whatever your promised land looks like, right? It will guide you there. But you do have to admit certain things, take responsibilities for certain things, make certain decisions. And, one of the things that I think I've given myself a gift in doing that is that the everything that I had feared, that, oh my God, am I going to be able to make it? And what's going to happen with the kids and all of that? Like, I gave myself the gift of possibility. And oh my God, have the possibilities been so much greater and better than I could ever have imagined. I live more. The thing is, we hold on to safe as if this thing we call life is, like as if there's a right way of doing it, right?
Right.
You come here, I always say you spend about 28,000 days, right? Dancing, you meet people, they come in, they leave, you have experiences, that happens. I call it like the little main character of the movie, that you are the main character of your movie, but then you're, dancing with other characters. And then the movie moves along and it's going somewhere. You don't necessarily know where it's going. And, allowing for that to happen and not holding on to any one chapter or any one season or any, group of characters, that allows you to actually get the fullness of what life is trying to do with you versus oh, it's good enough. Let me go distract myself with this.
Right.
No, you're
No.
missing out on the opportunity that is life, the
Yeah.
opportunity of the of actualizing everything that is in you. But to do that, you have to lean into the storyline of your life. You
100%.
have to lean into what did these things that I went through, what were they meant to teach me? What lessons can I apply now so that I can live life in a more elevated manner? So talk about that,
Yeah.
because that's what you helped me do.
Yeah.
You helped me look at my story, because I remember when we sat together, I was like, I have a ton, like, versions of this book, and you're like, we're not carrying any of this stuff into this.
Right.
We're doing it from scratch. And I was like, oh my God, I've been writing for so long. I can't write from scratch. But thank God I listened, because then it was more of, what does she need to hear? And obviously what she needed to hear was what I needed to hear. And it was so, like, everything that I was doing for my reader, I was really gifting it to myself in the process.
Right.
And what I wanted her to learn is what I wanted to learn. And that's what the experience ended up being for me. And so you were like, no, we're going to start from her, and then we're going to work backwards.
Right.
And then it opened up such an opportunity for me to really learn everything that there was to learn about my story.
Yeah. A book is a love letter, right? A book is the first opportunity, your first act of service. No matter what you're doing in the world, your book is a direct connection and communication to that one soul, if we could just say one person. And that's why we go down that road when we begin is, first of all, this has nothing to do with you. Like, you have the story, all this happened, but this is all about that one person. So let's get out of the way and focus. What does that person need? What do they need? What have they been through? What are they looking for? If they can snap a finger, what could shift within them? But thinking about your ideal reader, and sometimes people say, they say all the time, your avatar, and that's something I really don't like. I do not like that. Because an avatar, you're not talking to a robot, and you're not talking to a caricature. And that's why a lot of people miss the mark, because they're not within ChatGPT and all of these things. If you are not talking to a soul that you could visualize, that you can connect with, that you can imagine just being in the room with you, and you letting them know from the bottom of your heart, this is what I want for you. This is the gift that I have for you. That all of that I've been through, that all that I have been appointed, because I believe that our journey is a mission appointed by God. And He said, this is what you're here for, and this is what you're here for. And it is for us to say, okay, I surrender, and I am grateful for all the gifts, every tear, every challenge, every hurdle, every, joyful moment, all the celebrations. They're all part of what we were appointed with.
Right.
And it is our duty to use that, again, get out of the way and use that to serve.
Yeah.
Right? And if we use a book to serve ourselves and say, oh, I want this book because I want to tell my story, and my message is important, and what I've been through is important. Yes, but it is a something that is through you and for others. That's what we're here for, is to serve others, even for the ones that hurt us, even for the ones that come here and make a mess of our lives, or we allow.
Right.
Right? It's all part of our service for others.
Yeah.
And so when we see this clearly, when you write and you begin and you think that you have all this figured out when you're starting to write a book, it's clearing that out and then coming from that space, coming from that intention.
Right.
And then clarity comes. Because again, when you're on purpose and when you're in your mission, that's when the veil lifts and it's you.
Right. But what you just said is, even though I know that I had my person that I wanted to, enlighten, help, open up, with my message, ultimately she was me.
Absolutely.
Because you are me and I am you. And
Absolutely.
We are so much more similar than we are different in the fabric of this human experience. And so ultimately, although I wrote the book for her, last weekend I went to the beach and it was my first opportunity to read my own book. It was so good. And I mean, the tears were welling up. Like I was feeling what I put in there for her. And it was a book I needed to read.
Absolutely.
It was a book I needed to read. And so when you take the opportunity to and you know, I know you said it's for the world, but like you said, it's also, it could just be a love letter to yourself writing a book, right? Because I feel like, of course, I'm having the impact because that's part of what I want to do. But after this experience, I would encourage anyone who wants to even if you want to just avoid therapy, right?
Oh my God!
Or I guess part of your therapy, right?
And you have a book,
right? Right? Because and so just because of literally how therapeutic it was, right? So and I remember saying to you, I'm like, I don't want to bleed on her when I write these books. I don't want her to feel my pain. I want her to get the lessons and feel whatever she needs to feel. And by the time I got there, I was no longer bleeding. So there was no blood to leave on her. And that was the biggest compliment that one of my friends who knew, she called me after she read the book and she said, just so you know, there was no blood. I was like, oh my gosh. She said there was no blood. And so the process was so healing. The process was so revealing. And the process was so empowering because it invited me into a vulnerability that, you know, some people, even my brother said that to me when he read, he's like, I don't know if I could be this vulnerable. Right. And I'm like, the vulnerability is the gift. Like I gave that to myself because now, like I own all of it. I own and embrace the entire journey. When you said that, you know, we are all made by God. We are all, and I saw this yesterday. Jim Collins, he's a best-selling author and he was on Oprah. And he said, it's not just finding out your purpose, it's finding out what you're encoded for.
Right. Exactly.
Right? You're encoded for something. And sometimes I'll say, you know, we are all branches of the same tree. And so if we are all branches of the same tree, you know, what you bring and what I bring, although they are different, you know, we're made up of that same source tree, but we bring different things and we're here to like share and dance and all the things. And that's what writing this book has allowed for me to do. Is it allowed for me to introduce my story into the mix of what's out there into the world and have the women who can relate, and who need to see themselves in the frame that I present this whole thing in, and that's what they needed so that they can see themselves. That's available now. That's available to them, and it'll be available for generations to come who may need those very same words, that very same frame, right? And that's the gift of writing a book.
Absolutely. I mean, aside from it being so cathartic, again, we talk about vulnerability and it's really being honest. Right. Like when you're writing a book, you can't make it up.
Right.
It has to be raw, real, and honest. And that's what starts to surface. And another, to your point, is if you don't have this, you know, person that you want to write to specifically, you know, at the end of the day, most of the time, it's you 5-10 years earlier.
Right.
Right? It's the younger you that needs a message, that needs the experience, that needs the conversation, that needs the support. And, you know, you move around in life and you continue growing in whichever, during whatever circumstances. And then you realize, okay, this is something I need to pass on. And this is something that I need to share. So, you know, you tap into what did I need? That love that connection, that frequency, that true desire to serve, to help,
Right.
comes from that yearning, that, the younger self and the future self that's leaving all of these crumbs saying, this is where you're going.
Right.
You're about to write a book. You're about to share your story. And from the vulnerable place, from the true, honest place, that's when things shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with a coach that I was working with around the time that I was, really wanting to put the message of the book out. And I said, she asked me, she says, what happens if you don't write the book?
Right.
What happens so that, what's the big deal if you don't, right? And she was just really wanting to see what I would say. And I said, because the pain that I went through would be in vain.
Exactly.
Because it would just only have benefited me. And although there's definitely something to that, but how much greater of an impact and how much more valuable would this pain be that someone who is on a different continent could pick up this book, and that was just what she needed. Absolutely. And that it unlocks something in her. And truthfully, as I've said to you many times, the experiences that I've had have really proved to me or showed me that, when you don't do the work that I'm talking about in this book, and what the book helped me do, and what I know your book helped you do, you really move through life almost with a chip on your shoulder,
yeah.
right? And it's not a good one.
No.
And it's a handicap. It really
Absolutely.
is. And in the book, I talk about the fact that, when you are in the thick of your own wounding, and not looking at it, not leaning into it, avoiding it, saying everything, it's good enough, right? Because it's good enough, it always comes from the fact that you don't want to rock a boat, right? And the boat you don't want to rock is where your pain, your trauma, and all that stuff lies. I'll take that to the bank any day of the week.
100%.
Okay. So when you do that and you move through life like that, I say it in the book, you are literal prey for people who feed off your wounding.
Yep.
And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even though you might not see it, there's like a high beam on you that they see. They see it from a mile. It's like a shark smelling blood in the ocean. It's like, right? And you are legit prey, a target for those kinds of low energy, I call them bottom feeders and parasites and, all those things. And it's at your own risk. And I mean, I had the experience. Thank God I learned from it and, pulled a lesson so that now I can see it. But if my communicating that avoids that for another woman, my goodness, or that she could be in the thick of it, and instead of, 6 years that she would just wake up at 1,
right?
Then, oh my goodness, because it's a life we're living, and it's all you've got, your real currency is time, and to be delayed from your purpose or rerouted down this, rabbit hole because you've got this wounding that's being manipulated and worked on, and you're not even seeing that because you're not at the helm of the thing. It's your 6-year-old who's still not understanding that she doesn't need this pain to confirm that she, it's pattern. Like, talk about that, please.
Exactly.
Okay?
And that's why I say it's like, it sounds very simple, but pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to all the things that's going on. Look around. Observe. Am I repeating anything? Am I repeating patterns? Am I drawn to something? When you are on your knees in the pain, in the darkness, that's the moment to look up and pay attention. Use the pain, use the discomfort.
It's an opportunity.
Use the shift. Is the most delicious, most juicy opportunity to have to make shifts and change. People get divorced, they make the decision, whatever, or the decision is made for them because there comes an infidelity or something else shows up, right? Because it's supposed to end no matter what.
Right.
Right? And so they move along and they get another job or they get another house and they move along and don't take the opportunity, the juicy opportunity to say, all right, wait a minute. What has happened? How can I make a change? How can I make a shift? How can I use this to up-level and support others? Again, get out of the way.
Right.
And observe, what is this all about? When I started to write my book, I had a friend, she's like, why do you want people to know your business? Like, why do you want to write this book? And then just put it out there. I'm like, but how dare I not? Like, how can I just spit in God's face and say, thanks, but I got it from here? Like, it makes absolutely no sense in the world. None. Right. And so for me is just pay attention. Stop. If you're lifting the veil and things are changing, lift it. Open, and I know it's hard because I've been there. I mean, we've all been there.
Right.
But it is a prerequisite to growth, to change, to look inside and say, what is drawing me to make these decisions?
Right. And understand, you are going to be with yourself for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And you've been with you for the rest of your life. I mean, from when you were born. So when you think about it, learning what makes you tick, what makes you act, what causes you to make decisions, it's primal. Like that's the true survival in this space, right? You've got to know thyself. And it's insane that we're born, we grow, we go to grammar school, they teach you alphabet, they teach you all these things, but they never teach you about yourself. That,
check yourself.
Remember you're a Landmark graduate as well.
I am.
Right? When I remember when I got into Landmark and I was already like 31 and they're like, oh, humans are meaning-making machines. Oh, it would have been great to know that shit when I was like 5, right? Because I didn't know that I made things mean certain things, and what I made it mean is not necessarily what it actually means. And that was like epiphany.
And the decisions you make based on that.
Exactly. The choices you make based on that. And those choices you'll continue to make until you realize, oh, this is where it's stemming from. And that thing actually is no longer existing. So I'll take my example. And this is not listen, for me, writing the book was not about putting my business out.
No.
Actually, it was about using my business.
Absolutely.
Not only to help others, but to help me. When, in my case, losing my father so early on at 14, right? This was the love of my life. So it was, I didn't know that I had an abandonment wound running the show. I didn't know that. That's why I was constantly choosing unavailable, like partners who were unavailable emotionally. That's not what I really wanted, but that's what the little girl who lost her dad could handle.
That was what was programmed from that moment.
It was safe to be with someone that I knew wouldn't leave, or someone who is not fully emotionally available, so that if that person did leave, that I wouldn't be devastated. So that was what was running the show. And it wasn't until I had the cataclysmic experience of an actual heartbreak that I actually allowed myself to tap in, but it was so revealing about who I am. It was less about them. It was really not about them, right?
No.
It was all about what it revealed to me. And so, when we talk about, these people that we allow in our lives and all of that, I think, the same way that we've had villains in our lives, we are villains in other people's stories, right? And
Exactly.
the storyline doesn't evolve without the highs and the lows, without the heroes and the villains. You need great people, and you need, if you need muscles, you got to go to the gym, and that shit hurts.
Yep.
You got to develop your muscles to live in this life through painful situations, through difficult people, through having to transcend, things about yourself so that you can manage all of that. These are all opportunities. How else would you? I mean, it's like we have this, I think, ideal that we would live in a world where everything is IRA. Right? Everything is just like chill. We got no conflict.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
But how boring would that end up being if you really think about it?
Yeah, well, how would you move? How would you improve? How do you move? How do you make a difference if you're not shifting to be in the space of help others? If everything is great, there's no difference. Just like spoiling your children. Like, how are they going to work harder? How are they going to, move to do things? And it's, it's again, back to the decisions that we make, the choices that we make, back to landmark is, something happens and you decide, I'm no longer the one, I'm no longer special, I'm no longer, and then you carry that into your life. You carry it into your experiences. You kind of even call it in. Right? Because if it's not feeling familiar, then that's not right.
But that's the thing. It's like, we will call in pain because
it's familiar. It's familiar. I used to tell my children all the time. I used to tell them when they were young, listen, life is going to happen and things are going to occur in your life and you'll go with it because it feels familiar. Even if you know inside something's not right, but you're like, well, it feels familiar. And it could be something that I did as your parent that might have been not so cool. Right? But because it's familiar, you're going to run with it. Check it. Always check it. Always check it. I cannot, we are in control. And we have a mind and we have references and we see things around us and we fall victim, but we're not victims. And if we don't take control of these things and analyze, and again, pay attention and shift decision or take a landmark course or read a book and go out there to explore how I can shift things within myself, then
you're on autopilot. Life is literally legit gonna keep happening to you. And my entire premise from the first book to this one is life has been happening for you. But in order for life to happen for you, you also have to get you gotta get into the
main character.
You gotta get into the driver's seat of your life. And Tony Robbins says this all the time. He says you gotta participate in your own rescue. And your rescue, really the way you participate in it is to go back and do information gathering. What was this here to teach me? Because if it didn't happen to me and it happened for me, then what the hell did it happen for? Can we figure that out? And then that gives you the opportunity of a lifetime to write the script in a way that is in alignment with this version of you and not the 6-year-old or the 14-year-old who's still stuck in time and frozen in time because she was never fully acknowledged. She was never fully told that, okay, no, you're safe. You don't need to keep making decisions, repeating patterns that are familiar, that are painful because I'm tired, right? Because it happened for me. At some point I had to be like, girl, I got it. Like I had to tell my 14-year-old, I got it. I got it from here because mama, please. If you attract one more of these people in here, you know what I mean? Or one more of these, I don't want that anymore.
And it's all back to the comfort.
Correct.
I'm
familiarity.
Being exactly that little 14-year-old that decides to be either scared or ignore or move along and not really notice what happened there. What happened there? And why am I, again, repeating the pattern? And going in circles, feeding this, making it almost finding the evidence. You see, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Except that it's not. Except that it's informed from past behaviors and past patterns. And it is so imperative that you do this work for yourself and that you go into, whether it's, more books you read or podcasts you listen to or communities you go into that support you transcending these spaces, because there is beauty in this life. There is joy. There is the desires that you have. I always say your desires are possibilities seeking expression. I even talk about that in the book, right? The desires that you have for your life, they're possible and they're calling you. They are calling you forward. This book, this season has been calling me forth for a long time. And it took this winding road to be now at the doorstep of it, right? I can see the unfolding. But what I love about the experience is that not only am I creating this experience and I'm actively creating it, but I'm also witnessing it. I'm watching the unfolding, and it's such a juicy, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to ever be asleep at the wheel, just like life throwing me around, and like I say, it's like a Publix garbage bag in the wind. It goes over, the wind blows this way, it goes that way, but then when you're here, you can say, okay, you know what? This thing that's been on my heart, this thing that I've always wanted to experience, I'm gonna make this happen. And what is it right now in me that might be blocking that? And then that to go look for that and switch it up. And that's been the gift that I've given myself, in writing the book, in really exploring my life, not in woe is me, I can't believe this should happen to me again and again. No, it's more of, wow, my life has always been bringing me here. It's always been a becoming.
Always.
And I needed every bit of what I went through to finally get me to a place where not only do I see it, now I can actually go back and see the patterns, and then I can say, girl, here they are. Those are the patterns. This is that's what's keeping you here. Now you can stay if you choose to, because you do always have free will, but there's also this opportunity. And the whole main character thing, the really embracing your story, that's where that came from for me. And that would have never revealed itself to me had I not gone through the entire journey, including writing the book. Because part of this, writing the book was, how some of the healing stuff that I was indulging in, materials I got into, and this perspective was offered about the characters and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can, I can actually see even like the people who murdered my dad. I could see them differently, not as it really,
absolutely. The compassion that comes from, like examining and moving past again, you, and what's happened to you. And then there you could see further and see what all of that was about. Because every single one of the experiences are pieces of the puzzle. Pieces of the puzzle that we were picking up as you were writing the book. I mean, as you were writing the book, there was, oops, here's another one. And the book could not move on or complete or get to the next chapter. Right? Without that ingredient that came in, that made that shift, that brought the clarity, that brought a deeper message for you to share with your readers.
And realizing that, you said compassion, but more so, for me anyways, it was everybody played the exact role that they were casted to play in that movie. And I cannot celebrate this woman that I am today, which I love, and forsaking the path that led me here.
Absolutely.
Or forsaking the people.
And that's why I say, when I say compassion, I mean a broad compassion for all, right? Because if you are, this happened to me, or it was done to me, or they, they hurt me, or they hurt my family, and you move from there, you're not, it's not going, the picture is not going to clear up. You're not going to get the vision clearly because we're stuck from only one perspective.
Yeah.
But when you drop into compassion for the one that hurt you, for your first husband, or for the relationship, or the partnership, or the business deal, whatever it is, and look at it with, again, this is the way it's supposed to all play out.
Yeah.
And soften in here to know that without it, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Correct. I call it radical acceptance.
Exactly.
You bring zero resistance to the mix, because whether you bring the resistance or not, it happened. And life has been unfolding, and it's going to continue. And even now, I think the gift for me is I'm ready for all the other villains to come. I'm ready for all of the ups and downs to come. I'm ready for all the highs, the lows, the dance that is life. I'm here, and I can see that this is life.
Right.
This is the opportunity.
And you're ready to be the brighter light.
Right.
For those that are walking on the path that can use all of the experience that you've been through. All of that you, again, were appointed to live, right? Yeah. Is like, okay, this is now, yes, you've written your book, and yes, you've gone through the transformation, and yes, it's been a cathartic experience. And now I'm serving. And now that's when your business grows and you scale, and you now even are clear on what it is that you're really meant to do here. Right.
And the impact. And what are you encoded to do?
Exactly.
But before we, I just want to say something, okay? The right people also to help you do that show up.
Yes.
And you showed up exactly, like not a minute early.
Right.
Not a minute early. And you were the exact coach that I needed to do this work. And it's so important that you do get the support when you are engaging in this kind of work. I mean, I think in anything, I mean, I've had so many coaches over the years, and oh my goodness, I could not be here. Even in the back of the book, I acknowledge so many of them, because it's just, they each took me, a little further along on the journey. But you, the space you held was sacred.
Yeah.
It was sacred in that it was not just about giving me the framework or the technical aspect of the book. When I hired you, that's what I hired. You're the person who sold me what I wanted, but gave me what I needed.
Right.
Okay. So you kind of held my hand, literally like birthing this with me. You're like my doula, right? Yeah. Throughout the process. And holding sacred space for me to feel the process of the writing, and then heal what needed to be healed, so that it didn't make it into the book, but it made it into our coaching calls. Right. And it made it into the worksheets that I had to work through. And your process is bar none. I think it's, you really should teach coaches how to coach.
Oh my gosh.
Because, people need that support that I got from you. So blessed that you're the one. And of course, God doesn't make mistakes.
Right.
You were definitely the one for me. And when you lean into this kind of stuff, you do need you need support. You need
support.
And I've been blessed to have the village that I call my friends, that I call my family, and my siblings. Like, I have that. But it was so essential to have your guidance and the container. And I cannot emphasize that enough that when it comes time for you to do this, because it is sacred work, because it is, it's something that you've got to go feel a lot of feels. It's got to be really safe, and it's got to be some place that there is no judgment. There is, you're seen. I mean, you saw me. You saw me. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God. She sees me. It's a little uncomfortable, but I love it. I need that. Right? In order for this unraveling to happen, and then you get on the other side, and you can bless that version of you who did her best with what she knew at the time, and now is ready to go do all this other great stuff, having taken that with her. So yeah, I just want you to know that, and I want everyone to know that this book legit could not be out here in this world doing what it's doing and doing what it's going to do, because this is just the beginning, right? Without having met you, without having connected with you, and without the space you held. So, yeah, I just had to say that.
Thank you, and I really appreciate that. Honestly, it is love. It is. I love what I do, and of late I have been very confident to say I'm good at it.
You are.
Like,
really
I am good at it.
Yeah.
And it is about holding space. And I know that we use that word and we throw it around a lot about, holding space. But it is about being the mirror and being in the space for you to move the way you need to move before you find that next space to surrender,
right,
and allow for the message to come in. And yes, it's, there's a method and there's the technique, but it's beyond that.
Yeah.
It's beyond that. And we don't know all of the things, that's why, like you said, we need support. If you really, really want to make a shift, we need, and you can't see that you're doing it on your own and you're taking 6 years to write a book, then go get help.
Right.
Invest, because listen, when you pay attention.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? And invest in yourself and invest in the thing that's calling you, right? And if you have the call, if you have whatever it is, to write a book, to be a coach, to change careers, and it's never, ever too early, and it's never, ever too late.
Yeah.
It's about the moment that you stop and say, all right, I'm just going to do this.
Right.
And then
you decide. And and I remember when we were at a seminar and Mary Candy said, the national sales director who was talking, she was like, decide. Side is to kill off all options, like homicide, pesticide, decide. You kill off any other option. So you burn your boats. You burn your boats.
That's so good.
So good. You burn your boats. So good. And you're not going to retreat. And you are leaning in and you're going for it. And like you said, it's finding your right person that can do this dance with you, because listen, you put up with shit with me, I wouldn't put up with it. I was just like, how did she even do it? Like,
because I could see it coming.
I was getting on my own damn nerves.
I could see it coming, and it had to. But and it had to play out. I had to, no matter what I was saying to you, and I was saying, do it like this, and you're like, I know what I'm doing, or I am going to do it this way, and I'm like, okay, we'll talk next week,
bitch.
and you'll see,
right,
that it's like, no matter how much you try to do it, some instances, the way you thought it could have been or it should have been because you know how to do it, it reveals itself. It's like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
Or I don't know how to, or I need a little deeper.
Or the way that I thought I wanted to do it is not this one. Like, I wrote my first book, I told you, covered from start, pen to paper, to published in 2 years. It was easy. It was, for me, writing a book, and people would ask me, how did you write a book? I'm like, Easy.
Right.
Write a table of content. What do you want to say? These are your chapters and fill in. Like, I could tell you how to do that.
Right.
Like, right. For me, I was like, I know how to do this shit. Right. Except that 6 years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a different kind of book.
What kind of book do you want to write?
So the first kind of book I wrote was a teaching manual. It was a teaching book. So it was like, these are the things that I learned. And it was just like me regurgitating.
Yeah.
This one was so darn personal.
And what do you want on the other side of it? Like, what's the point? And that's the conversation we have. What do you see on the other side? Writing this book, what does it mean? What is it going to change in your life? What do you desire? And even then, you're not even seeing it until we're getting through the process.
Right.
Because then it's all of your power and all of your gifts and all you start recognizing it. You're like, wait a minute, in chapter 2 and 3 and 4, oh my God. Look at all I did.
Yeah.
Look at all the courage that I mustered up. Because again, I talk about confidence and courage. And yes, you could be confident. And like I said, it could be fleeting. Confidence comes and goes because something through. But the courage, you make a decision to pull up your panties and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow through.
Yeah.
In anything and everything in your life.
Yeah.
It's the commitment to yourself. It's the conversation that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And so through the process with you was just, again, witnessing, watching your movements and knowing that it would be just a matter of time before you circle back. Circle back. Patiently, but with all the love and joy because everyone moved the needle every single time. Even if you weren't writing, the needle was moving, the shift was happening, downloads were occurring. Because you were open and ready to
and I can tell you, and I can tell anyone who's watching confidently that it was the exact process that I needed, because it wasn't just a matter of writing a book; it was an identity shift.
Exactly.
It was an identity shift. I went from knowing myself one way. Right? And living out of my skin one way to now having a completely different identity that I lived through and ready for everything that she has to bring forth. It's the most foreign space I've ever been in my life because so foreign.
Oh my gosh.
So foreign because, I checked the boxes. I did all the things that I knew were going to have me in control. And this is a complete surrender. There definitely was a death of an ego, which was such a gift. Oh my God, the death of the ego. Oh my God, because it's like now, y'all all know my business, right?
Right.
I've got nothing to prove. I've got nothing that, it's just, I can just finally be.
Right.
And I can be in my essence. I can dance with this season. Whatever this season holds, and it's insane because as much efforting as I did to bring myself, through life when I was in survival mode, this space is so magnetic. This space is so, it's flowy.
I call it the author bubble. From the moment you decide, yes, I'm going to do this, you step into this bubble.
Yeah.
And you don't see anything the same. Right? And you start to be in the witnessing space. And you're gathering and you're gathering and you're experiencing and you're rolling and the bubble is floating and you are in it. And if you allow yourself to be led, and sometimes you don't, but you're in the bubble. And so it bounces and it moves and it goes where it needs to go. And sometimes it sits and you are gathering so much information and it's the juiciest experience. Sometimes it's so hard and sometimes it's very intense and sometimes you take a break and you breathe. But in that space, in this incubator, right, you now start to see things so differently.
Yeah.
and you become so different. And you stay in there until it's time. And when it pops, oh my gosh, it's a completely different soul coming out of it.
Yeah. Not in a million years did I ever think that I would be talking about writing a book and that this is what the process would be. I've always just thought, you sit, you write a book, whatever your message, is what it is, right? And this experience really taught me that there's definitely different kinds of books. And the books that we're talking about here of really telling your story, your main character story, because and if you think that because so many books have been written, your book doesn't matter, it's bullshit. The fact is, no one has your story.
Absolutely.
No two people.
I would never have written a book in my life because, heartache, the spiritual journey through love and heartache. How many books are out there?
Right.
But I knew that mine was special and there was someone waiting for my message, just sitting there saying, please, somebody, there's got to be a message that's going to help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And that's the knowing that I want everyone who's watching to have, is that if it is tugging at you, it is because you have a message that only you can deliver the way you're going to deliver it. And the person who's waiting for that message will only get it from how you put it together. And that's what I'm even, this has just been a couple weeks since the book's been out, not even, it's brand new, where I'm already getting that feedback of, this is exactly what I needed in this season. And, it's like you're talking about me, and it's the people who it was meant for that, God knew when he brought me here. And again, right now, what I'm experiencing, I can speak to it, and I know you've experienced it, is just all of it's like a constellation of the right people, the right opportunities, everything that this book was meant to create. As this new chapter is unfolding, like, I'm starting to see it come together, and I can see that the book was just the catalyst. It was just me really saying, okay, yes, I do want this. And now I'm just watching. And as I'm watching the things that are unfolding, it's just like,
it's like an antenna. It's like an antenna.
Yeah.
Right? Because your frequency is so high, right? When you write a book, when you put it out there, when people start reading it. And that frequency is calling those that it's attracting, right? So the frequency, the antenna, it's tuned.
Yeah.
Right? And you're tuned in. And that's when they're like, oh, wait, I hear the signal. Yeah. Go to, your page, or hear something that and people, the way sat next to me, people will scroll on your page or talk to somebody, or your book will be sitting in somebody's desk and they open it up and they just read one chapter and it makes a difference, or it's sitting at an airport, or it's sitting on a plane. And that's the frequency. That's why I tell people all the time, oh my goodness, don't think that ChatGPT is going to write your book, because it's not your frequency. It's not going to land, because it's you fine-tuning you and all that's within you with the intention to serve, to help, to give from that, knowing that this all came to me, every single part of it, so that I can help that one person that needs me.
Yeah. This was so good. This was so good.
So good.
I mean, I know you're like my favorite book coach, period. But if anyone wants to find you and connect with you, please let them know where to go to.
Absolutely.
Because she's fucking amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes.
So I'm Soulful Books. So if you look up Soulful Books, and also Sandra Rodriguez Bicknell. My name will take you to my social media, all of social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and my website is Sandra Rodriguez Bicknell. And you can apply. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. I do support authors in their book writing journey, but I also help people refine their message, nail your messaging with, alignment. So really, what is it that you want to share in the world, and how you're going to articulate it so people understand you? There were lots, like I said, lots of great stuff that we're creating to make it accessible for anybody and everybody to share your story, and be prepared, because when we start, we move, and we move fast.
Yeah,
And
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, it's a year, and usually it wasn't.
6 months.
It's me who dragged my.
but it was the process, and that's what makes a difference, right? But people are like, oh, you have to have boundaries. No, this is every client is different. Every author is different, and I am not going to rush the process and let them miss any of the juicy parts. That's what is my commitment. Right. That's what I love, is to make sure that it all comes through exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandra Rodriguez Bicknell. She's thebomb.com. You were just listening to the Unfiltered with Kara podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to receive new episode notifications. Also, if you found value in this content, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with those you love. Until next time, much love and light to you and yours.